Hey everyone, it's Apache here and welcome to a tutorial on how to build my Wither Boss Killer. This is the Mark II edition, so it's an upgrade from the one I made for Vipper. It is still a single killing chamber, however it can output around 180 stars per hour. It drops player drops as well. It is server safe and it can be put anywhere on the server, even in your own base if you really want it there. It does blow off kind of item frames and stuff like that around the area. But if you've got about a 10 to 15 block radius around this small contraption that we're making, relatively compact contraption, then everything should be absolutely fine. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is some of the blocks that this can be built out of. Obviously we need witherproof blocks. And so the first block I want to show you is actually vanilla bedrock. Now vanilla bedrock has some very interesting properties. It cannot be broken by players, it cannot be broken by mobs, it is completely indestructible within the game. To be able to use it and be able to work with it, we need a moving wand, and so the crafting recipe I have here for bedrock is just a moving wand. Now if you don't have a moving wand in your pack, this is from Not Enough Wands, but if you don't have Not Enough Wands within your mod pack, there may be some other form of being able to move bedrock around. So have a look around your pack, have a look to see if you can actually use it. This is my favoured block for working with withers with, because it is completely indestructible and no one's going to accidentally knock out any blocks and have 700 withers flying around the server. So it is slow to work with and it does need a moving wand or something equivalent to a moving wand, but for me this is the best choice. We have a couple of other choices though. Now the second block I want to show you is Lonsladite from Environmental Tech. It is a nice neutral colour here, you can see it's jet black, very much like Basalt from Quark or from Environmental Tech itself. But it has some interesting properties. It is witherproof, but it can be broken by players. It is difficult to obtain. As you can see here, the recipe is Lonsladite shards. And if we have a look at the recipe for Lonsladite shards, it can only be gathered by ore miners, and even with a black lens, which is the preferred, it is only a 5.81% chance of actually obtaining this from between any other items that you can get. And so this is a slow, gradual process to get. I'm sure within kind of a week of downtime or something, then you'll be able to gather up enough to last a lifetime. But for what we're looking at kind of rapid progression through a mod pack. The bedrock is still better to use. And the final choice we have is Ender IO's Reinforced Obsidian. This is a beautiful looking block. This is iron blocks encasing a obsidian. The pros I have for this, it is easy to obtain in bulk once you have the core in your core infrastructure up. However, it is a fairly costly recipe for what it is, and it does have particle effects on it which can affect lag on the server a little bit. And you can see here the particle effects coming off it there. The recipe for this is 4 dark steel, 4 dark iron bars, and 1 obsidian piece in the centre. So it is a fairly costly recipe considering that bedrock is readily available on every single server. It's just finding a way of how to collect it. And the moving wand, Not Enough Wands, is a fairly regular mod in many mod packs. So I would be surprised if there isn't something equivalent to the moving wand, or if your pack does not have Not Enough Wands in it. Okay, so they are your 3 choices, and if I knock down these walls, you'll be able to see all of them together, so you can gain a good view of them and see which one you would want to use within your world. I'll pull the hood off as well so you can see all of them together, pros and cons of each one. Okay, so moving on, this is the mock setup we're going to be using today. This is just a digital storage. This is something like AE2 or refined storage, and this is our little storage pot here. This is what's going to gather up the Wither Stars and the rare shaders bags, the epic shaders bags I think it is. This here represents as a mock-up of a wither skeleton farm. However you want to have your wither skeleton farm, you can use the powered spawners from RF Tools. There's many different options on how to build a wither skeleton farm. I'm imagining if you're watching this tutorial, you'll already have gathered up tens of thousands of skulls ready to be turned into withers and shot in the face. And here is a mock-up of a soul sand farm. However you want to do that, I have a good way here of making one, but if you have a decent way of making soul sand other than, say, a Tome of Alkahestry, in which you get 9 for 1, but at the cost of redstone, but if that's a little bit cheaty for you, you can do something like this. Or if you don't have Reliquary in the pack. This outputs around 300 soul sand per minute. It converts sand to soul sand. Here we have another mock-up of a sand farm. So this is a cobblestone generator with a sag mill turning that cobblestone into gravel and another sag mill turning that gravel into sand. That is being output into this iron dropper, which is ejecting continuously while powered at an exact velocity so that it will land exactly in front of this atomic reconstructor, which is 3 blocks away from it. Here we have a advanced item collector which just collects up anything in the area, and it has an item filter set to just collect soul sand in it, which will then get output into this chest. Here we have a lever which is going all the way around to the iron dropper and also goes into this logic gate here. And here we have a timer set for 20 ticks. This can be any form of timing mechanism you want to use, and this can be any form of logic gate you want to use. This is just a simple AND gate, so you can see here the diagram. So when A and C, which is the timer and the lever, are both active, then this is on, which means this will pulse every second while this lever is pulled. So if we give it a test now, I'll put a muffler here just to quieten it down, and you can see that it will pop the sand into soul sand and just output it into this chest. And we've already got a stack and a bit while we've been talking here. So it's a very, very fast soul sand conversion farm. And now we get on to all the other stuff you're going to need. There's quite a lot here, as you can see. So we're going to split this down into different phases. This is phase 1 for the spawning of the wither. Phase 2 is the killing of the wither. And phase 3 is the automation and the timing. So in phase 1, we're going to use these phantom places from Actually Editions to actually spawn the wither. And we're going to need 7 of these, and we're going to need 7 of these boosters as well. Well, these are relatively costly actually, if we have a look at the recipe for this. It is the diamantine crystals, redstonia crystals, and this ender casing. And this ender casing itself is empowered diamantine crystals, ender pearls, and a block of black quartz. And so it is relatively expensive. However, the Actually Edition stuff is kind of early to mid-game stuff. It's all relatively easy to collect. It just takes a lot of power to actually transform it into the empowered versions. To actually configure this placer, we're going to need a phantom connector and a redstone torch to put it into pulse mode. The next row we have a dimensional transceiver, which is going to be linked into this digital storage unit. This is what is outputting all of the power and items from the wither farm to your storage. And then we just have item conduits, some speed upgrades, and we need 7 basic item filters as well. And of course you need your wither skeleton skulls, your soul sand, some bedrock I've got here which I'm going to be building out of, but we've mentioned that you can use other wither-proof materials as well. And finally we have an advanced item filter here, or advanced item collector, which will be collecting up all the drops and throwing them back into your digital storage. For phase 2, which is the... oh yeah, sorry, you will need 100 bedrock or similar in total, wither-proof blocks, 100 of them in total. For phase 2, which is the actual killing of a wither, we're going to use a... this is actually a tier 4 100% infused shield. Was it a shield projector? Now the shield projector tier 4, if we look at the recipe for it, actually needs 2 Nether Stars for it. And so you can go straight for the tier 4 straight away, or you can use the tier 3, which is here. And we look at the recipe for this. This doesn't require Nether Stars at all. So you can use tier 3, and then once you get a few Nether Stars up, then you can move up and to the tier 4, and it will be at full power, full strength, and full speed. Obviously we're going to need these shield templates as well. We'll need 2 lots of these. These get crafted in groups of 8. We have a look at the recipe, and so we'll need about 16 in total, depending on how you actually want to design it. But the shield can handle, I think, tens of thousands of these, so you can make this as big as you want, really. But as you will be able to see, I have been able to compact it down as much as possible. To be able to configure this, we're going to need a smart wrench as well. And then to gather up the XP from this, I'm using a XP vacuum, which is already pre-activated with some liquid XP in a bucket, with an experience obelisk. To be able to activate this, all you need to do is put some experience of your own into an experience obelisk, and then extract it with a bucket, and then put the bucket into here. Really simple. But a lot of people get stuck on how to actually activate this with liquid XP, because there doesn't seem to be much way of actually getting it. And of course we're going to need some energy conduit for the shield projector. Finally, phase 3 is the automation, which is how we're actually going to use these phantom places in pulse mode. We're going to send pulses to them via these advanced redstone interfaces here. You can see the recipe for these is relatively simple, as is the recipe for the basic redstone interface, which you need as well, which is a stable ender pearl, which again, the recipe is simple. And so it's a little bit of a rabbit warren to get to, but it's nothing difficult. And to locate the blocks which the phantom places are on, you need 7 of these position filters, 4 for the tail and 3 for the head. And the recipe for these again is very simple: purple dye around some paper. We need some redstone and some repeaters. I think we need 3 repeaters and, I don't know, some redstone, 6 I think in total maybe. And for the timing, we're going to be using a hovering hourglass from Botania with some sand. And we'll need 20 sand for the full speed shield. Or if you want to be a little bit more cautious, you can use 30 or even a full stack of sand to make sure that you've got everything working properly, to make sure withers don't spawn on top of each other. We're using the hovering hourglass in this because, I mean, we could use this timer from RF Tools, but this works in ticks. And so we've got it set for 20 ticks here, which is 1 second. It says handily in the tooltip there. So if we want a 20-second delay, which is what this farm runs on, we're going to need 400 ticks in here. But if there's any server lag or server delay, then because this counts in ticks, it's far more prone to server lag than one of these, which counts in seconds. Each block of sand that you put into here counts as 1 second. And so that's why we're using the hovering hourglass, because it's less prone to the server lag. Anyway, let's get on with actually building this thing. I've gathered up all the ingredients necessary for phase 1 of this build. A couple of things I need to make you aware of first though. First of all, this shield template I use as a scaffolding block within the HermitPack here. Red shield templates I use as scaffolding, and the blue shield templates I use for actual shields. So just a distinguishment between the two. We'll only be using one of these blocks, but just to let you know why it's there. The second thing is with these phantom places. These phantom places, whenever they place heads, they always place the heads facing north. And so we need to place our farm on the north-south line instead of the east-west line. and their heads need to face north, so it needs to be facing in this direction. You can see this is north on the mini map at the top, and so if it was faced in this direction or even this direction, then it wouldn't work. It has to be north facing. So that's the only other thing you need to be aware of before we actually get building. And so we'll place our first block of scaffolding. And first of all, we're going to actually build out the item conduits. And these phantom places need to be placed 2 apart, or a block away from each other, to stop them from bud loading each other, or stop them activating each other. Because in the original design I had them right next to each other, and they tended to, when one was active, when this centre one was active, it was actually activating the head as well, and so it went out of sync. We're going to need 1 extra as well on the end, and so now we can place in our phantom places on the ends of these. They're a little bit fiddly to get on, but they'll go on. And this is why we've raised it 1 off the floor, so that we can get underneath and actually configure the item filters once we've got those on. And that one goes on there. And so there we have the kind of outline of the wither that we're going to be spawning. At this point, it's a good idea to put all of these phantom places into pulse mode just by right clicking on them with a redstone torch. Okay, so now we can actually set down our dimensional transceiver on this 1 item conduit that's left over here, and we can configure this within the within the power here. We have main power out as a channel available here to receive power. You can see it's gain power up here, and on the storage we want to. I've set up 2 channels. We want to receive Witherboss items, and we want to send back to the digital storage, and that is over here within this digital storage system mock-up here. I've just set same with send and receive. Power is sending main power out, and the storage is sending Witherboss items and receiving in the digital storage. And I've set up a send filter here, or should have done. Set up a send filter just to send Wither skeleton skulls and soul sand. And that's all that is. And so however you want to send the items over here, if there's another method that you want to do it, that's perfectly fine. But the dimensional transceivers work very, very well. They also have a really nice feature in that you can put a advanced item collector directly on top of it, and it will send stuff directly. It will use this where is it? This inventory here as the inventory that this puts into. And so it's really nice and easy with no cables at all, just to send, or no buffer chests or anything, just to send items back to the main storage. Now that we have the base, we also want to put on these phantom boosters onto the phantom places, and these will basically increase the range of the places can actually place blocks. On top of those, we want to place a layer of bedrock, a 5x5 layer of bedrock, which covers these the phantom places. And this is going to be our spawning platform. From now on, I will refer to the head here, the 3 heads, as the front of the build, and the tail, which is where the power is, as the back of the build. And so I will also refer to the west side of it, this side, as the left side, and this side of it as the right side, just to let you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it. So this is going to be our spawning platform, and he's going to spawn right on here. And so this is where he's going to be. And so around this, I'm going to build up a little bit of a suppose you could call it scaffolding, structural support, whatever. However, we're going to fill in the back two here, and we're going to take out the side two. And this is just for the start, so that it's easier to actually get at the inside. On top of this, we want to build our first suffocation layer. And there's going to be 3 suffocation layers in total. And so this is a full 5x5 again. And then the second suffocation layer, at the back of the build, you want to have one of these taken out. And so the second suffocation layer is where the shield is going to go. And so you need an entrance in for the shield, which is why we've knocked one out on the back here. And then the third suffocation layer, for now I'm just going to build up again as a outline around the edge, and then we can fill in the top again later. And this is where the shield is going to go, and then we can put the cap on it afterwards. On the back here, this is where the shield is going to go down. You can actually put this on now, it's just I've got it in phase 2 as the killing bit. And so we want to actually enclose this, the shield, within a bit more bedrock, because he could have a possibility of firing something out of here, because this is where his heads are going to be. So he has a possibility of firing something out. So we need to just cover that over. And so we'll cover that over just like that, and that'll be fine. And then we'll cover this again later on. Down at the bottom here, we're now going to configure the item conduits. So we're going to start at the head and work our way backwards and get to the dimensional transceiver last. And so on all of these, we want to set it to insert, put an item filter in, and then set the item filter on the front row here to be heads, in the middle row to be soul sand, and in the back row to be soul sand as well. The insert, item frame or item filter, and a head. And on these ones, insert, item filter, and a soul sand. And then finally here with the dimensional transceiver, we want to put 15 item conduit speed upgrades in. We want to turn round robin mode to enabled, and we want to set this to always active. And so this should start now pumping in heads and soul sand into the system. At the moment, you can see they're being received and sent out. At the moment, we've got it buffering item stacks. However, this has got a built-in kind of single mode on it, where you can buffer single items as well. And so we'll be using this later on to slow down the system once it's been primed with all of these soul sand and wither skeleton skulls. All the items are now in place, and now that the system is primed, we can actually turn this buffering item stacks down to buffering single items, which will allow load balancing across all 7 of them here. So it'll go one head, one head, one head, instead of 4 heads, then 4 heads, then 4 heads. And as the items trickle through, everything should be equal. And so this is our design at the moment. All that's left in phase 1 is to actually configure these phantom placers and tell them which blocks they need to actually place onto. And to do that, we use a phantom connector. We're going to start at the back here with first of all, just configure the soul sand. And so in here, we've taken the sides out so we can actually get to the blocks much more easily. The center block here on the floor, I want to click on it, right click on it with the phantom connector, come down here and shift right click onto the phantom connector itself. You can see it says here the connected block is bedrock at -780, 60, 773, and that is 2 blocks away. And so you can see that is now connected. We go back up and we go for this side, So it is this block here. Right click on the block, come back down, shift right click on there, and you can see that is connected 2 blocks away. Come back up, and we want to get to the middle block, so I'll actually come around the front of this. I find it a little bit easier from the front. And so I'll click on that one, and that is the center one here. And there's an easy way to tell if you make sure you've got the right block. You can see on this one it is minus 780, 60 and 773. And this one is 772. So it is 1 block away from it. You can see this one we've also configured. So this is minus 779 and this one is minus 780. So this is 1 block away as well. And it's 772, 772. So we are definitely in the right configuration. I'll just get rid of the rain here. Seems to be raining a lot on this server at the moment. I need to get rid of that. And then the final one here is this block here, which connects to here. And you can see this is minus 771, sorry, 781, whereas this was minus 780. And so that is 1 block away as well. And so everything is connected up and right. In order to place the heads, I'm going to use a little bit of scaffolding here to actually build up a mock of where the soul sand is going to be placed, because these have a few interesting quirks to them. And one of the interesting quirks is that they will not place a head on a block on the top of another block. And so we have to kind of trick it a little bit into placing it where we need it to be placed. And so if we connected this bedrock as we did for the soul sand, it would not work. It wouldn't spawn the head at all. So what we need to do is we actually need to select the scaffolding block here and then go down and connect it. You can see it is shield template at 779, and then we can break that shield template, and you can see is something unrecognizable. So it's just an air block is basically what it is. It's probably picking up those particles there. And so now inside here we actually want this placement sides to be placed to the north, so that it will place on the north side of a block that it is connected to. And so it will end up placing here instead. Whereas on this block we were looking at before, on the soul sand we selected this bedrock and told it to spawn upwards here. Whereas we're selecting this block and telling it to spawn to the north. And so that is where it's going to place. We're going to do that on the other ones as well now. And now that they're all connected, we can get rid of the scaffolding. And we can place in these sides again. It doesn't matter that there's air spaces in between here. As we'll see later on, we will actually use one of these gaps to put a XP vacuum into. And so these blocks do not get blown out in the Wither Blast when he spawns. And that is the end of phase 1. Phase 2 of this build revolves around the killing mechanism of the Wither. And so we're going to start with this shield projector, and we're going to place it down at the back here, at the bottom. And we're going to connect it up to the dimensional transceiver below. We're going to connect it up from the back of the dimensional transceiver, as you can see, because this advanced item collector has to be on the top of it. So the best way to do it is coming out the back and round instead of straight up. Within the shield projector, we'll configure that later, but first of all, we need to actually put shield on. And so we're going to place one in that little gap there and down to there. Now we're going to come up onto the top and we're going to fill in this layer here. And then we can actually put the bedrock up, or witherproof material up on the top just to cap it off and fill in the third suffocation layer. And we're going to leave this bit for now just so that we can make sure that the shield turns on. We're going to go inside the shield GUI and we're going to set this to hostile mobs, this to solid damage. So entities that match the filter cannot pass and get damage, so this will actually suffocate him more than it would just being normal damage mode, because it's actually, he's stuck inside a solid block, and it'll also suffocate him more than it, or damage him more than it would in solid mode, because it's also adding damage to him over time as well as suffocating him. So that's why this machine is so fast. And finally we're going to put this onto player mode here, which will actually drop XP from me with it as well. I'm going to change the shield colour here to, I think, a nice dark blue, and keep that on shield. There is an option here for looting. This is what I was talking about at the very beginning. You can put I'm going to add this onto there. Yes, that's done. You can put item conduit onto this as well as a energy conduit, and actually pump in dimensional shards into this, and that will add a looting effect onto the shield. And so it's actually possible to, I don't know if it's possible to increase the output because they only ever drop one. I don't think looting has any real effect on withers, but it would be interesting to find out and play with and see if it does actually have any effect. It's something I haven't really tested, but it's something which is available there. And so we're just going to right click on this now with the smart wrench, and that should activate the shield. You can see it's in blue there. And so now that it's active, we can actually block off this back bit here, and that is the farm structure fully completed. The only other thing we're going to do in this phase is add in the XP vacuum, and we're going to do that on the left hand side, or the west side, at the feet end as well, at the back. So we're going to put that into that little hole there, and in creative they come up unprimed or unactivated, so I'm going to have to add some XP into it there. But as I told you before, that's nice and easy to do, especially if you're using this obelisk. And we'll just put that onto the side there. No need for any conduit in between, because if we come into it here, we can configure it, and we can set this side facing the XP vacuum to be on pull. And so you can see we've got 4 levels in there at the moment. We'll be testing this to see if I just take that all out, retrieve all. So now it's reset back to 0, so we can actually see how much XP each wither gives us. And that is it for phase 2. The final phase of this build is about the redstone and the automation, and so we're going to start on the very top of this build here. It seems a very strange place to put the redstone, but it doesn't actually get damaged within any of the blasts. I've had this running for about a week now on the server, and there's been no problems whatsoever with it. And so we're going to start by placing 2 of these advanced redstone interfaces here, and then we're going to put some redstone out from them. I'm going to put a diode in, or a repeater in. I'm going to use a repeater as a diode. We're going to place 2 on this side, and we're going to put both of them on 4 ticks. And this will basically give this a delay to place the heads. So this is the heads side, and this is the tails side. And we need another piece of redstone there, there, and there. And so we've got 2 tracks running down. And then in the centre of these, we're going to add the hourglass. To test this circuit out, we're simply going to put 5 sand into this hourglass here, which will give it a 5-second timer. That means every 5 seconds it will pulse, and as you can see, the redstone hits this one before it hits that one. This means that the soul sand will be placed before the heads are in each rotation, and will be a 20-second gap between each placement. And so now we can just right click on the hourglass and take the sand back out. These positional filters will tell the advanced redstone interface up there which block it needs to, or which blocks it needs to activate. And so with each of these, we're just going to shift and right click onto the blocks we want. And so with the tails one, we want all of these phantom places on there and that one. We're going to leave the heads for now, we're just going to test the tail. And so if we right click on here to open the inventory, and we can just put these straight in. We're going to test the circuit again by placing another 5 sand in here, and then coming down and watching this stuff spawn. And there we go. We're now going to set the positional filters for the heads. So these are at the front of the build. And so if we shift right click on each of these, and then put these ones into the inventory for the right hand side, this is all primed and now ready to function. Now all that remains is to put the 20 sand into the hourglass and wait for the wither to spawn. There he is. And you'll be able to see now that he actually takes longer to spawn than he does to be killed. And as soon as he is killed, another one's formed. And so now we can see already in this chest we have Nether Stars and these epic shader grab bags coming through. And so this can be anywhere on the server you want. It can be in your base, it can be on the nether roof. I would probably recommend it being on the nether roof, but as you can see they're being spawned and killed rather quickly with this. Okay, so this has now killed 10 withers, and so we're going to see how much XP it's got. 19 levels and 10 withers. So that is 2 minutes worth of killing, or 2 minutes that this farm has been online, and we've got 19 levels in total. So there we have Apache's Wither Killer. This is the Mark II edition. I am working on the Mark III edition at the moment, which is a multiple killing chamber, so we can spawn multiple withers at once. However, there's a few things I need to iron out with the design. But you can see this farm is rather powerful at the moment as it is. With a Nether Star generator Mark III, I think the one Nether Star lasts for 40 minutes, so this is producing 40 minutes of fuel every 20 seconds. So that's pretty good ratios. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe on the video and to the channel. It all helps. This is a relatively new channel, so every little bit of feedback helps. Please leave me feedback in the comment section down below if you like the design, if you think there's anything I can improve with it, if you think that there's anything I've drastically missed out entirely on it, and if you can figure out any way of making it more efficient and faster. That's what I'm after, making this thing the best wither killing machine it can possibly be. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I will see you next time. Just as a bit of bonus footage here, I thought I would show you the implementation I've made here on the server. I currently have 12,750 Nether Stars. Currently have 11,113 and 17 Nether Skulls, but still coming in. And the only thing I'm running short on at the moment is soul stand, but that's the only reason is because I've shut off my cobblestone generator. But we'll go head over to the spawn and to the nether roof, and I'll show you what I've managed to do there. And so if we come into the portal here, and I've built all of this out of bedrock as well. We head up the first steps. We've either got a set of stairs up or a elevator. So we'll take the lift up to the nether roof. and just over here is my wither spawner. At the moment this is still the Mark 1, so it does get clogged every so often. The way you unclog it if you are using this design is simply to take away all of the wither skeleton skulls and wait for the timer to come back down, and it will start back up again. And so my friends here on the server have had to put up with this going 24/7 for the last few days in order for me to build up those 12,000, 13,000 Nether Stars. And I've just been throwing away all the shader grab bags because I don't really need them. You can see this is pretty much exactly the same as we've done. I built it backwards at first, so I had to rebuild it. But yeah, this is it working on an actual server. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting me by subscribing to the channel and liking and commenting on the videos. Thanks. See you next time.